Hello. Have you ever wondered why it's so hard to put down your smartphone, or why you feel such pleasure after eating something tasty or winning a game? All of this is the result of dopamine, a chemical that our brain releases in response to pleasurable stimuli. But what if I told you that dopamine is like a drug? Not literally, but its effect on our brain is so powerful that it can push us to repeat the same actions, even if they harm our health or well-being. In this video, we'll explore why dopamine can be dangerous, how it influences our habits and behavior, and how we can learn to control its effects to live more mindfully and focused. Let's dive into this fascinating analysis of how our brain works. Dopamine, the chemical messenger of pleasure. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, a chemical substance that neurons in the brain release to transmit signals between them. It is responsible for the sensation of pleasure and reward. When you do something that brings joy, eat something sweet, win a game, get a like on social media, your brain releases dopamine, creating a feeling of pleasure. This sensation is so enjoyable that the brain seeks to repeat the action over and over again, forming certain habits. However, dopamine is not only responsible for pleasure, it also plays a key role in learning and motivation. The brain uses it as a signal that a particular action is worth repeating, thus creating behavioral cycles. This is beneficial when it comes to healthy habits like exercising or studying. But the problem arises when the brain begins to associate dopamine with less useful or even harmful actions. Why dopamine becomes a drug? The problem with dopamine is that it can make us dependent on certain actions. Like addictive drugs, dopamine can also drive us to seek repeated actions, even if they are harmful to us. This process is similar to addiction formation. The brain seeks quick gratification through certain actions, and over time, we start to need more and more stimuli to achieve the same level of pleasure. For example, social media is specifically designed to capture our brains through constant dopamine surges. Every new like, comment, or message is a small hit of dopamine that keeps us coming back to our screens again and again. The same goes for things like unhealthy food, gambling, and even endless streams of TV shows. How dopamine affects our behavior. Dopamine has a strong influence on our behavior, and this influence is not always positive. For example, due to the constant flow of dopamine from social media or video games, we may lose the ability to derive pleasure from simple things like a walk in the fresh air or interacting with friends without gadgets. We start living in a constant search for the next hit of dopamine, which leads to decreased focus, productivity, and even the development of anxiety or depression. In addition, dopamine can affect our decision-making. When we become too attached to seeking quick pleasure, we start procrastinating on important tasks, opting for short-term dopamine rewards instead. This can lead to putting off essential work, ultimately diminishing our chances of long-term success. How to control dopamine's impact on our lives. Controlling dopamine's impact is key to staying focused and productive. One way is to create a dopamine detox, where you temporarily abstain from stimuli that cause excessive dopamine release. This could be a break from social media, unhealthy food, or other habits that distract your attention. Another way to control dopamine is to develop mindful habits. For example, instead of seeking quick gratification, focus on long-term goals. Exercise, meditation, and reading are all activities that stimulate dopamine release, while also promoting long-term well-being. It's also important to cultivate the ability to enjoy simple things that don't require constant brain stimulation. How Stoicism helps cope with dopamine dependence. Stoic philosophy teaches us to control our passions and desires, making it an ideal approach for combating dopamine dependence. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of inner control and understanding that true happiness comes not from external sources, but from inner peace and harmony. One of the main principles of Stoicism is learning to approach all events with equal calm, without letting emotions take over. This means we can learn to control our reactions to dopamine stimuli, reducing their influence on our behavior. Through Stoic practices such as meditation, emotional analysis, and self-observation, we can reduce dependence on quick pleasures and learn to enjoy more profound and lasting sources of happiness. Dopamine is a powerful neurotransmitter that plays an important role in our lives, but its excessive stimulation can lead to unwanted consequences like addiction and the loss of the ability to enjoy simple things. Controlling dopamine's influence is key to living a more mindful and balanced life. By using the principles of Stoicism, we can learn to control our desires and find true contentment in inner peace and harmony. Remember, true happiness does not depend on external stimuli, but only on our perception and attitude toward the world.